It's always good to look at research reports. There are lots more than most people can cope with, and we're very lucky to have Martin Couzins, who selects some of the best for us to discuss. So what are we going to be talking about this month, Martin? Which report?
Well, Nigel, we've got the Deloitte Global Human Capital Trends report.
Sounds like a mouthful, but it's actually a very interesting and important report, isn't it?
It is. I know it's got the term human capital, which may be a turn-off, but it's the 5th year in which they've run this research. They talked to 11,000 business and HR leaders around the globe. So it's a massive piece of research.
Yes.
And it's really rather interesting because they come up with some trends which might sort of be surprising and in some senses new to you.
And maybe alarming for some organisations. So the focus in this report is the social enterprise, correct?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's the social enterprise is the enterprise which now has more meaning in society than the enterprise of yore, which basically means that there's some kind of political vacuum in the US, for example. People are looking to their employer to fulfill more of a social purpose. And that means connecting their purpose with society at large, whether it's the environment, the community. So it's basically how that organisation connects with those forces around it, the environment, the economy, how it does business, and what that looks like for the employee experience.
So we're going way beyond just profit and loss and keeping the shareholders happy and looking at the whole, almost the 360-degree picture in order to measure impact and success.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the trends? The one I picked out, which I love, which I know brings a smile to your lips, Martin, is the idea of the symphonic C-suite. So it's all about collaboration. And basically the report is saying that collaboration is okay right through the enterprise until you get to the C-suite. And there you've got the senior execs, all with their specialism, marketing or finance or whatever it is, operations. They never, ever collaborate. They just do their own thing. And basically the report is saying it's time to shake up the C-suite and build a symphonic C-suite.
Yeah.
True?
Yeah. Now, park the consultant speak. You know, I know what a symphony is, and I know it's all about various bits of music coming together in harmony, and that's kind of what they're saying, is as you put it. So they're basically elevating the role of leadership and the role of collaborative leadership to being the most important trend. And the thinking goes that if this can happen at that level, then it's going to sink down into the organisation. So, yes, I don't think there's any surprises that leadership should be the number one priority or trend. But underneath that, we've got things like the second most important trend is people data. So the whole data issue is there. But interestingly, for anyone in learning and development, the third trend is what they call from careers to experiences. And that's the bit I would recommend people to look at, in terms of the domain that we're in.
It's again, it's following through something that isn't brand new, but it's now becoming dominant. That's what they're basically saying. The data is pointing that really you need to get the right experiences in order to secure the jobs. You don't think of that as a career.
Yeah, and I think the data shows that organisations are having a massive challenge around this. To say that, what does a career look like now?
Yes.
And it means, wonderful work experiences in a range of employers. Well, most people watching this know that they haven't had that themselves, and it's very hard to do in their organisation. So it was very early days. So I think there's quite a lot of rhetoric around that. But it is a thing. People are in tenure for less time than they were, and they are moving around, and there are different ways of engaging with an employer, be it through the gig economy, contractor status.
Well, that links to the last point I think I want to make about it, and that is this idea of a workforce ecology. They draw attention to the fact that it's not just full and part-time workers, it runs right through to crowdsourcing, through the gig economy, through contractors and freelancers. They're saying that this is now a thing, and that if you're in L&D, that is the organisational workforce. It's not just a line after full and part-time workers. So did you find that useful, and what did you take from that insight?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it comes up in terms of what the report talks about around learning, it's talking about a learning culture. And what does that mean? Well, the process around helping develop that, aside from leadership and the data and all the rest of it, is actually knowledge sharing. And that has a big impact on all of those constituent parts of that ecology.
Yes.
Whether it's someone who's freelancing for you or whether it's a full-time equivalent role.
Yes.
The competitive advantage is going to come from much better quality knowledge sharing in the business.
And blowing apart the idea of knowledge sharing in the business. It's knowledge sharing in, around and outside, including perhaps customers and other stakeholders.
Yeah, and I think that's where the value is.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the main message in terms of the learning part of this report, is that it's all about developing that culture, and that starts with really having in processes that enable really easy, effective sharing of the right kind of knowledge.
Good report to read, I think, and it's free download as always,
Yeah.
and some really interesting ideas and focuses
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.